A todos. ¿Cómo están ustedes? ¿Todos están bien?
Bien.
Ok. Ni fu ni fa, neither good nor bad. No, bien. Es lunes. Los lunes son difíciles. Mondays are hard, aren't they? Ok. Vamos a practicar un poquito con llevar. Vamos a practicar un poquito más con pronunciación. We are going to go back and do a little pronunciation drill all together. And we're going to do a little bit more with llevar just to kind of wrap that up. We're going to take those questions that you had. So things you might need handy. What might you need handy? And we'll see. If you do not have access to this, please feel free to tell me. I will share the screen. First of all, if you need to reference, this is for later on, if you need to reference the verbs that I told you, there are a whole bunch of verbs that take direct objects, and they were like 177, sí, 177. If you need the book for like second half of class, you might want to have that. If you printed out, perdón, wrong screen. Me equivoqué, I was wrong. If you printed these out, or if you're able to pull up on a separate screen these questions which use llevar, that would be a good idea to do that. I'll give you just a minute or two while I do the overview to kind of hunt stuff down, get it arranged. It's tough. I don't know about you guys. I'm fairly organized, but even though I know what I'm doing and I've got it written down, there are times where it's like, what do I have next? Do I have all my stuff ready? Okay. We will not start with these questions. We will do these second. I will tell you why, while some folks are hunting for their materials, that we're going to do a quick pronunciation thing all together, all of us kind of chorally. We will do our questions with llevar to kind of shore that up and see if you have any doubts, questions, things you still need to know about llevar, which has, of course, lots and lots and lots of meanings, right? Depending on the context. We will start in with this ap personal, and ap personal is going to be one of those things. It's like the first of a set of dominoes. Once you knock down the ap personal, it knocks down a whole bunch of other dominoes and goes into this whole realm of topics, which are all related. You will see why. But we're going to talk about the ap personal and direct objects. And why the heck do we even have to know what a direct object is? Do we have to know what it is? Well, sadly, for Spanish, we do have to know what it means to have a direct object so that when we use it, we know what we're using. Okay, so that is our plan for today. Ese el plan. And if you have any other questions, always feel free to interrupt, interject, do whatever you need to do. Okay. Vamos a empezar. We're going to begin. Vamos a empezar con pronunciación. We're going to begin with pronunciation. Is this big enough for everybody to see?
Yes.
Es bastante grande. It's pretty big. We're going to do always working on those vowels, because the vowels are the things that we tend to want to anglicize so much. And we're going to do two other letters. And I could not get my ñ to become a capital ñ with my keyboard. I know there's a way to do it, but I was ran short of time of figuring out how to look for that. We're going to, besides our vocales, vowels, we're going to practice a little bit with that letter J. That J is tough. It's that phlegm-wad H, right? Yeah, the ha sound, which if all you can do is an H sound without the, throat action, yeah, you're still okay. And the ñ, okay, the ñ, muy importante. That's, of course, a separate letter. So we'll practice that a little bit today. Vamos a empezar con estas palabras. I will pronounce all the focus words. And if we have time at the end, I have a great video on accent marks, but we're going to save it to the end because it's a media day. Okay. Las palabras con A. Vamos a enfocar, we're going to focus on. Vamos a enfocarnos con A. Amar. Repitan, por favor. Amar.
Amar.
Amar. And we punch the last half of that more. Amar.
Amar.
Amar. Okay. Abrazar.
Abrazar.
Abrazar. Llamar.
Llamar.
Llamar. Bien. Maleta.
Maleta.
Okay. Always nice. Never an right? A lot of times we want to do or a because, you know, that's our English sound. But amar, to love. Abrazar, to embrace, to hug. Llamar, to call. Maleta, suitcase. Okay. La letra E. Empezar. Empezar.
Empezar.
Empezar. Always right? And it kind of sits kind of up there a little bit higher. Okay. Empezar. Llevar. Llevar. Querer.
Querer.
Esperar.
Esperar.
Okay. Muy bien. So, empezar, to begin, to start. Llevar. Llevar. 6 meanings, right? To take somebody to a place, to carry, to transport, literally to bring something over to somebody's house or to somebody, right? Llevar, to wear. Llevar, for, to spend a certain period of time doing something and you're still doing it. Lots of meanings, right? Querer, to want, also to love, interestingly. And esperar. Esperar has double meaning too, like, not as many meanings as llevar. Esperar means to hope, but it also means to wait for, and the for is built in, to wait for. So if you're waiting for a bus, if you're waiting for your neighbor, you're waiting for the mailman, to wait for. And we need that word for. In Spanish, they don't need the word for because that's built into the verb. A lot of these verbs that I chose for this are on the list that was in your book. There's a reason for that. Okay. La letra I. Always I. This is way at the top of your palate, right? It's the long E sound in English, but la letra I. The letter's name is I, and the only sound it makes is I, ever. So, invitar.
Invitar.
Insistir.
Insistir.
Visitar.
Visitar.
Gritar.
Gritar.
Okay. And again, some, but not all of these were in your book. Invitar is a cognate, to invite. Insistir is a cognate, to insist. Visitar is a cognate, to visit. Gritar is not a cognate. Gritar, to yell, to shout. Yell. Okay. Bien. And notice whenever we have an infinitive, whether it's A-R, E-R, I-R, we always punch that last vowel sound more. You know, if you're talking about which syllables you stress more, the infinitive always stresses the last syllable unless you see a written accent mark someplace else. Occasionally that happens, not often. Okay. Oh. And you want your mouth to make an O a little bit, right? O is a long O sound, but it's not drawn out. We tend to, in English, draw out. And even though I am a Midwestern accent English speaker, that means flat vowels. Yeah, flat. That's me. Even though, we bring out our O's more, your O in Spanish is shorter. It's shorter. So, conocer.
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 Conocer. Encontrar.
Encontrar.
Acompañar.
Acompañar.
Okay. Volver.
Volver.
Okay. Conocer, to know a person, or to be familiar with a place, to be familiar with a thing, a topic, often to know a place meaning you know your way around, you have been to that place, not just that you know where it is on a map, right? But usually we use conocer to talk about knowing people personally on a personal basis. Encontrar, to find. They give you two verbs in the book, encontrar and hallar, hallar with an H, with an H. Hallar does also mean to find. They're kind of synonyms. Acompañar, to accompany, that's kind of a cognate. Envolver, to come back or to return, right? Okay, now we've got our oo sound, oo, and yeah, your mouth will close down on that, oo. Okay, it focuses on that front part of your mouth, ooh. The only sound we'll make is ooh. Once in a while, you go silent, right? Like the U and ke, we don't pronounce, kue, it's just ke, right? GUE and GUI, usually the U goes silent, but that's all. Every other place it will be pronounced. So there'll be words like this: buscar,
Buscar.
cuidar,
Cuidar.
Cuidar.
cuidar, and that UI, UI, cuidar, okay? Ayudar,
Ayudar.
escuchar.
Escuchar.
Okay, bien. Buscar, to look for. And just like esperar has the for built into the verb, buscar has the for built into the verb. Buscar is to look for. Sometimes we could define it as search for, but look for is probably conversationally more what we would say in English. Cuidar, to care, to take care of, right? Ayudar, to help, and escuchar, to listen to. And the to, again, is built into the idea of that verb, okay? Escuchar. Bien, okay, so our vocales, A, E, I, O, U. I will give you, after the fact, this whole package that has, I will give you the link that will give you this whole package that's got this and all the other notes for today on them. We're going to focus now on our consonantes, dos consonantes. And we're picking two that are sometimes things that are either a little hard, like J, J, or the kind of thing you might forget about because we don't have a sound like this in English, or a letter like this in English, the ñ. So dejar will be a ja, 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 an H essentially, but it does come from up here. If you watched Rafa Nadal win the French Open last Sunday, his 13th French Open tourney, he is from Mallorca, a little island off of Spain. It's a vacation area, big time vacation area. Lots of water sports on Mallorca. And he does this, boy, you really, really hear it, the sound every time they do an interview with him in Spanish. So we've got words like this. Repitan, por favor. Dejar.
Dejar.
Dejar. Ojalá.
Ojalá.
Ojalá, which is a great word. It means hopefully. You're wishing for something to happen. Jamás.
Jamás.
Jamás is an old word for nunca. It is a synonym for nunca, never. Jamás is used more in Spain, I think, in mi opinión. I think it's used a little bit more in Spain than it is in Latin America, but people do know exactly what it means. Jamás, same thing as nunca. Okay, our word for bird, pájaro. Pájaro. And you'll notice it has an accent mark. Ojalá also had an accent mark. Whenever you see an accent mark, it means that is the syllable, that is the vowel we punch more than any other in the word. So pájaro. Okay, pájaro. And this also has an accent mark. Jóvenes. Jóvenes. Otra vez. Jóvenes.
Jóvenes.
Bien. Okay, so let's do all these one more time real fast. Dejar.
Dejar.
Ojalá.
Ojalá.
Jamás.
Jamás.
Pájaro.
Pájaro.
Jóvenes.
Jóvenes.
Ok, bien. Fantástico. Ñ, always the ñ of onion, that ñ sound, okay? Ñ actually originated as a double N out of Latin and got shortened to an N with a teeny tiny N, a squiggle, which became a squiggle line at the top. But it is considered a separate letter. So oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't define our words under the J, perdón. Dejar means either to leave behind or to allow, permit. Wow, those are different meanings. Dejar, to leave behind, like you leave your keys behind on the table, like you leave behind a tip at the table after your meal, okay? Dejar can also mean to let. Les dejo a mis hijos, les dejo a que mis hijos salgan a las 11. I let my kids go out at 11, whatever, that kind of let or allow. Ojalá, hopefully, wishfully, jamás, never, pájaro, bird. Jóvenes, young, but the plural form of young, jóvenes. Okay, back to ñ, ña. Extrañar.
Extrañar.
That's a long word. Otra vez, again, extrañar.
Extrañar.
Bien, okay. Extrañar means to miss. Not to miss the bus, not to miss a plane. To miss something, meaning you wish it was there, right? To miss your cousin that you're very close to miss your friend who lives in a different place, that kind of miss. To miss going out to the restaurant because you wish you could do it and it's maybe not the best place for you to be right now. Okay. La segunda palabra, cañón. Cañón can mean cannon, can mean canyon, like Gran Cañón, Grand Canyon, right? Caña. Caña is literally a cane, like a sugar cane. Caña is also a slang word for a small glass about this high, bigger than a shot, maybe 4 shots worth of beer. Caña in Spain is a short glass of beer, not a long pint, a short glass of beer, caña. Navideño. Navideño refers to the Christmas season. Un árbol navideño would be a Christmas tree. It's not Christmas, Navidad. It refers to Christmas. It's Christmas as an adjective. Un regalo navideño would be a Christmas gift. Okay, navideño. And the word, which oddly, this also has 2 definitions. The last la última palabra. It is this part of your body, or it means a doll. How does it get those 2 meanings? I have no idea, but muñeca. Muñeca is a doll, a kid's plaything, or muñeca is this part of your body. Now, how does it get those 2 definitions? Ni idea, I have no idea. Let's do our ñas all together one more time. Una vez más. Extrañar. Bien. Cañón. Caña. Navideño. Muñeca. Fantástico. Okay. Little warm up. Ejercicio de calentar. Un ejercicio de calentar. Warm up exercise. Okay. We're going to take a look really soon at llevar, so you may want to get those ready. I will put them up on share for a minute. Is there anybody who does not have a printout or does not have the ability to split their screen? If you don't, let me know now. Okay, because I would like to send you off into breakout rooms to practice this with some partners, okay? Not really questions, but finishing sentences. Before we do that, antes de empezar con el ejercicio con llevar, quiero preguntarles, I want to ask you, quiero preguntarles si ustedes tienen preguntas de los usos de usar, de los usos de llevar, perdón, de los usos de llevar. Do you have any questions on the uses of llevar? Because this will mix up the meanings. No? Okay. Quick rundown so that you know what you're doing, because it's Monday and I don't know about you, but you know, yeah, if I don't have enough caffeine, yeah, I'm in trouble on a Monday especially. Llevar can talk about wearing clothes. Llevar can talk about spending an amount of time doing something. We're not going to focus on that as much because that's of less use to you right now as a tourist. Llevar can mean to bring or carry something or move something, transport it from one place to another. Llevar can talk about the ingredients that something contains, the ingredients in a particular dish, a certain recipe, okay? Literally what ingredients it carries with itself, I guess. Okay, bien. And taking, not just transporting a thing, but taking a human being, a person in a vehicle with you, right? Like the bus driver taking you downtown, the taxi driver taking you to the airport, a mom taking her kids to school, okay? That kind of take somebody in a car, take somebody in a vehicle of some kind, okay? Yeah, I think what I would like to do, we got somebody who got the bomb. See,
I posted
so what?
a question from last week's video about llevar.
Okay.
Sorry, it's like a few sentences together, like from the example from the video.
Oh, and have you got this in the chat box, Suwai? Perdón.
Yeah.
Okay. Llévame al aeropuerto. That's your question?
Yeah, and then the next sentence, like Pedro nos llevó, they use the accent mark.
Okay, and I want to have this so everybody can see it. It's up in the chat box now. Can everybody see this question? Okay, so you've got llévame al aeropuerto. That's a command. Take me to the airport.
So do you add the accent for take me to the, why did it add accent for this llevo and llevame?
Okay. Why are the accent marks on llévame and llevó? Okay, buena pregunta. Really good question, Suwai. These get into grammar thingies. So here's all I'm going to tell you for right now. Llévame is a command. And I attach the word me onto the end of the command, lleva. And when I tag on a little pronoun, me is a pronoun. It's telling who, I'm saying, hey, take somebody. And the somebody I want you to take is me. So I need to use the word me to indicate that. When I tag the word me onto a command, lleva, I suddenly have to put an accent mark in there. That is to preserve the proper, the stress, the emphasis on the proper syllable. I've got a really excellent video for that, which we won't have time to look at, I don't think today, but, and I think it's also longish, so I may send it as a homework because I think it's 18 minutes and I don't want to sit for an 18-minute video with you guys. So that accent mark is there because I tagged on an extra syllable that normally wouldn't be there. And just so that you let the person know who is reading that word, punch the first syllable here. You have to write in an accent mark. And the video that I will send you for homework will tell you why that happens.
It is still a present tense. It is still a present tense. But it is still a present tense, right?
It is still, well, it is It is in the family of present tense because it is a command. Okay. Actually, it's what they call a different, it's what they call the imperative mood. A mood isn't technically a tense. A mood means, well, it could be happening now, but is a command really happening? If I say, she's bringing veggies, she's bringing beer. She's bringing beer. That's more fun. She's bringing beer to the party. It means it's happening right now, right?
Mhm.
But if I say bring beer to the party, have you gotten to the party yet? You haven't.
Mhm.
So bring beer to the party is a command, which means you're telling somebody you'd like them to do it soonish, right? Kind of soon, but it isn't really happening, in fact, yet. You don't know if it's going to happen or not. And commands fall into that murky thing, which they call an imperative mood, meaning imperative, you're giving a command. You're telling somebody, hey, go do it. But you don't know if it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. The other accent mark that you see on llevó, and everybody take a look at the chat box. She wrote in here, Pedro, and it's the second sentence she wrote in. The first example is llévame al aeropuerto, take me to the airport. The second one is Pedro nos llevó al súper, and súper is just kind of like shortening a supermarket word, right? Yeah, súper, like supermercado, but you're too lazy to say the mercado part. Okay, llevó there is not llevo. Llevo, you know llevo as I wear, if it's clothing, or I'm carrying, taking something, right? Llevo. But this is not llevo, it's llevo. Llevo. And there's a reason for that accent mark. That accent mark tells you that that is a past tense verb. So instead of meaning Pedro's taking us to the supermarket, it means Pedro took us. Took us, and it's over with. Llevó is a different tense, Suwai. Llevó is a past tense, and Spanish has a couple of past tenses. This is the one that means, oh, he took us, that's done, it's over.
Is it a general rule you add an accent for past tense?
Not all the time.
Okay.
Some of them, yes.
All right.
Not all of them. You'll see that at some point. But when you see that on the tail end of a verb like that, it's an indication it's a different tense. It's not present. Let's put it that way in that particular case. Okay. And then you had a question about ya. Marta, how we used ya in these two sentences. Marta ya no lleva gafas.
Yeah,
Ya
one-
no,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you have to look at ya no as those two things go together. Ya no. Take it as like a single idea. Ya no. Ya no there means no longer.
Oh.
No longer or not anymore. We have a couple ways of saying that in English. Marta ya no lleva gafas. Marta no longer wears glasses. Or we might phrase that in English as Marta isn't wearing glasses anymore. Anymore or no longer, ya no.
Okay.
But notice the ya no comes in front of the verb. Marta ya no lleva gafas. Juan ya no lleva bigote. Bigote is a mustache. Bigote. Okay. Juan ya no lleva bigote. Juan no longer has a mustache because, well, yeah, you wear the mustache. It's attached to your bod. So, okay, bien.
Sí. Thank you.
No hay misterios, no more mysteries. Yay. Okay. Buenas preguntas. Ustedes son muy listos. You guys are very smart. Okay. I'm going to share this with you now. Let's take a quick look at this before I send you off into smaller breakout rooms. And we'll just make sure that everybody knows all the words they're talking about. What you're going to be doing is finishing up the sentence, or actually I didn't have my dots in some places, but anyway, you're finishing up an idea. We're starting off, we're using llevar in various ways, and we'll see if you can finish it off. And there's no one correct way to do that, right? There are many different things you might tag onto the ending. So we've got cuando voy al supermercado, llevo. When I go to the supermarket, I take what with me? Maybe you take bags. Maybe you take your debit card. Maybe you take cash. Okay, sea, whatever it may be, okay? Your keys, a lot of things you could take. Cuando voy al parque para un picnic, llevamos, when we go to the park for a picnic, we carry along, we take along, right? Whatever it is you bring. Cuando hago ejercicio, llevo, when I exercise, and hago ejercicio works together. When I exercise, I wear. Now it's got a wear meaning. Mi bebida favorita lleva, my favorite drink has, and we're asking for ingredients now, right? La salsa para comida italiana lleva, the sauce for Italian food has, and we're looking for ingredients. El mejor plato mexicano lleva, the best Mexican dish has whatever in it. Mi desayuno favorito lleva, or it might be llevan, right? If you're talking pancakes, it'll be llevan because pancakes are more than one. But if you're talking about tortilla and omelet, it'll be llevan, right? So whether you use lleva or llevan depends on if it's a plural breakfast dish or if it's a onesie singular breakfast dish. And I give you ideas of what are different kind of breakfast dishes, right? Tostada francesa, French toast, tortilla, panqueques, lo que sea, whatever. Llevo a, and we've got persona and a with lugar, place. So that means you're going to say, take somebody somewhere. But you need as in both those slots. You need an a before the person. This is a precursor to our a lesson, and an a before the place. Los taxistas llevan a personas a lugar. Taxi drivers, that's what taxistas are, taxistas. Taxi drivers take whoever to wherever, okay? El piloto lleva a personas a lugar. So you've got pilot takes people to a place. And you're going to like seg things into those little slots. Bien? Okay. Preguntas antes de empezar. Do you have any questions before I send you off into breakout rooms to practice that? ¿Sí o no? No? Okay. Vamos a ver. Somos 8. I think we'll do maybe 3 breakout rooms. You probably have 2 people in most, but there may be one group that has 3. Yeah. One group will have 3. The rest of you 2. Okay? Está bien? Remember to hit the join button. And I think it's just 5 minutos. 5 minutos? You think that's fine? Sí, está bien. Sí, bien, 5 minutos. Okay, vale. Excelente. Ustedes están aquí otra vez. Muy bien. Okay, make sure you take yourself off of mute so that if you want to ask me a question, you can just do it without thinking about it too much. Bien, ¿tienen preguntas después de practicar, sí o no? No, es muy obvio, real obvious, getting a little bit easier with llevar. Okay, and you'll notice that, you know, we'll probably look a little bit more at some of those other verbs that have double meanings too, like dejar and like esperar and all those kind of things. But for today, we're going to start on something else. Okay. We are going to shift gears a little bit, and we are going to take a look at what it means to have a direct object. And let me first show you. Does everybody see the link that's at the top of the chat box? I put that up there so that you can use it if you know how to split your screen and you can run Zoom on one half and another thing on the second. You might want to try to get into that. And if it doesn't work today, don't worry about it because I'm going to show this because I know everybody, am I correct? Everybody doesn't have the ability to do that yet. Am I right? No, okay. Bye. I will show this on the screen anyway, but if you have the ability to split your screen, you can hopefully click on that link and actually run it at the same time so you can see it. Okay. Bien. I am going to show you what the little packet from Nearpod is going to look like when you get it as a homework object, because it's got some other things in it that are not related to the a personal. So I'm just going to show you the little vowel and jota and ñ exercise will be in there. Okay. Bien. When you go to the next screen, it's going to have a video, and this is too long for me to play. But actually, this is quite good. It's a good listening exercise video. Cómo mejorar tu audio comprensión. How to improve your listening comprehension. And she does the whole video in Spanish. And I will tell you, honestly, she speaks very, very, very slowly. However, don't feel you are inadequate or a poor student if you think this is not slow, because it may feel fast to you. So remember, when you actually play it, you will be able to, in YouTube, like reduce the speed, slow down the speed to 0.75 is usually about right. So she has some good tips for listening comprehension. She's going to have another thing. I think that's her sister. How to talk to people, or how to think about approaching a conversation in real life. When somebody is going too fast, what should you do? Should you freak out immediately? Or should you beg them to, yeah, I know, isn't that the, please, oh my God, más despacio, por favor. Yeah, slower. You know, and actually she has some interesting suggestions, which I had not heard anybody use before. She's got kind of actually her first suggestion is excellent. It is to listen for 5 minutes and just do nothing. Take the foot off the gas pedal, take the foot off the brake, don't do anything for 5 minutes. And then if you still continue to struggle listening, then maybe it's time to interrupt and how to do that. So it's a kind of a helpful video there, but we won't play them in class. And now it's going to have a whole bunch of things on the a personal. The a personal. And so we're going to start with our little introduction to the a personal. And so you've seen the a personal a little bit, but it's still, you possibly even read about it in the book. En el libro aquí, yeah, in this book, they tell you about the a personal. The a personal is a thing in Spanish. And in order to understand why we use it, you have to understand what a direct object is. Sadly, it's a grammar thing. Okay, what's a direct object? A direct object does not do the action of the verb. The subject is the noun, person, place, or thing. The subject is the noun, person, place, or thing who does the action of the verb. But the direct object is the noun, meaning it's a person, place, or thing. The direct object is the noun that receives the action of that verb. All right? So if I say, tomo una taza de café, tomo una taza de café, una taza, a cup, is a noun. And taza here is serving, it is functioning as a direct object. The cup doesn't do anything in, I take a cup of coffee, tomo una taza de café. The cup receives my action of taking, okay? And because taza receives the action, it's what we call a direct object. So the direct object doesn't do anything. Something is being done to this thing, and that's why it's a direct object, okay? And in case you're wondering, yes, sadly, there are indirect objects as well as direct objects, but that's a topic for another day. Okay, a direct object can be a person, it can be a thing. I guess it could be a place, but more commonly it's a person or a thing. So here's the thing. Let's go back and look at this little screen I'm sharing. A direct object is something or someone who receives the action of the verb. In Spanish, if the direct object is a human being, or almost certainly if it's your pet, or somebody's pet, it's a beloved animal, because anything anything aside from bugs that lives in your house, you know, you want it to be there, and we're going to treat it as if it were a human being. We're going to treat animals in this case as if they were a human being, if they're pets. In Spanish, if a direct object is a human being or a pet, the little word a must be said before that person. And this little word a doesn't mean anything in English. It does not translate. You think of the word a as to, T-O. Vamos al supermercado. Voy a la panadería. I'm going to the bakery. But in this case, a does not mean to. So we have two little examples here. Veo a Luis. I see Louis. En inglés, veo a Luis, I see Louis, I see Louis. We don't have that word a, it means nothing. Beso a mi esposo, I kiss my husband. It doesn't mean I kiss to my husband, like I throw kisses to him. It's just beso a mi esposo, I kiss my husband. But whether I use the proper name of Luis or just a designation like mi esposo without a first name, I have to have that little word a there in Spanish. You just have to. There are just two verb exceptions to this rule for the a personal. There are two verbs that do not use a personal if the direct object is a person. And those two verbs are tener, and I will qualify it. If somebody were correcting me, they would say, oh, sometimes tener does use the a personal. Okay, sometimes it does, but not in any case that you, as a beginner, would need to know about. So for your purposes, tener with a direct object does not need the a personal, and I does not need the a personal, and that's it. All the other verbs are going to use all the time the a personal. So if I want to say I have two kids, tengo dos hijos. Okay. If I want to say there are a lot of lawyers in the White House, hay muchos abogados en la Casa Blanca. Okay. So I does not use the a personal. Tener does not use the a personal, but others do. I'm going to send you on this packet this page. We're going to take a look at some elements of it, but not all of it. And we'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, en un minuto. Do you have a question so far about the personal? We're going to take a look at a couple of things with that longer web page, but not all of it. ¿Hay preguntas o no? No? Okay, we're going to take a look at our little perrito, our little doggy page quickly. This is just a segment of the longer page, which I sent you. And Suwai, you're going to see a couple of verbs that have accent marks or are in funny past things. But no, when you see a verb that you think, that looks like a verb I know, but it looks like conjugation is wrong. Conjugation probably isn't wrong. Conjugation is just a different tense. Just saying. We've got a great big picture. Un perro precioso. Wow, this is such a cute dog. Es un perro grande. He's a big dog. No es perrito. He's not a little dog. And you see way at the bottom, it's in teeny tiny. Veo a mi perro. I see my doggy. We would use an a personal to talk about your beloved pet, even though he's not a human being, because you love him. Even if you don't love him so much, because he did a wheedle on the floor or whatever, you still love him. Okay. And we're going to take a look. You're going to see two kinds of direct objects. So we're going to focus on just parts of this page, and you can go through it at in greater depth later. I saw the tree. I saw, and notice they're using saw, past tense, not see, but saw. I saw the tree. I saw Teresa. This illustrates what a direct object is so that you really understand what a direct object is. I am doing the action. I am a subject. Saw is the action, and it happens to be in the past. What received the action of seeing? The tree. So tree is a direct object. I saw Teresa. What received the action of vision? Saw. Teresa, human being. Sometimes direct object is a thing, tree. Sometimes direct object is a person, in this case, Teresa. Okay? But in Spanish, we're going to express this two ways. And be is just the past tense of I saw. Instead of I see right now, I saw, like yesterday. Okay? Vi el árbol. Árbol, tree. I don't need the a personal because árbol is not a human being or a beloved pet. But I do need an a in that second case, vi a Teresa. In present tense, that would be veo a Teresa. Bien? Okay? And it's just that little a. And they're emphasizing here that a in this case with vi a Teresa or veo in presente. Veo a Teresa. Here the a does not mean to, T-O. Okay? And they have lots of good examples of direct objects. When you use an a, when you don't. Okay? And, oh, you're going to see some troublesome, Sue, why? Some troublesome. I got a punch accent mark at the end. Wow. Ooh, that was very prescient. Wow, you foresaw that. Here we go. Levantó, he lifted. He did this. Okay, lift it up. Levantó la taza. We would say in present, levanta. Levanta. Él levanta la taza. Cup is not a human being, so there's no a. Levantó a la muchacha because it's a little girl and you pick up a little girl maybe, okay? Levantó a la muchacha. Levantó a la muchacha. Levantó a la muchacha. And that a word is very fleeting and very brief, right? Because they shorten their vowel sounds. So it's going to sound like it swings right on in. Levantó a la muchacha. Okay. If that were muchacho, I would have to make it levantó al, because the a and the el would blend together, right? Into one word. But with a la muchacha, they stay separate words. Number 3. Oigo is the yo form for oír, to, not to hear, but, I'm sorry, not to listen to, like escuchar, but to hear. Oigo, I'm hearing. I can hear something. Oigo la orquestra. I hear the orchestra. And orchestra, well, it is kind of humans, but it's a group. So it's not really like separate human beings. It's a unit, right? It's a unit. So, oigo la orquestra. Oigo a Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift es una cantante. She is a singer. And because she's a human being, oigo a Taylor Swift. I hear Taylor Swift, okay? Recuerdo el libro. I remember the book. Recuerdo a mi abuela. I remember my grandma. Grandma's a human. We need the a. No conozco tu ciudad. I don't know your city. We would probably phrase that as I'm not familiar with. I don't know my way around your city, okay? But now if I want to say I know a person, it's no conozco a tu padre. I don't know your father. No conozco a tu padre. Quiero comprender la lección. I want to understand the lesson. Quiero comprender a mi profesora. I want to understand my teacher. If what I want to understand is a human being, quiero comprender a mi profesora. They give you a couple of examples that are exceptions. Don't focus too much on that because don't get into the weeds. Go with the general word for now. Oh, what's the exception? Oh my God, don't die over that. Just know that I and tener, we don't use the a, okay? So, takeaways, key takeaways. A personal used before the direct object, so before the name of the person or before the name of, whoever they are, if it's just médico instead of a first name. The personal a is generally used when the direct object is a person or an animal or a thing that is thought of as having personal qualities. So like your bird, if you have a bird, yeah. If your kid has a lizard and he keeps the lizard in a little, yeah, that kind of thing. Anything that's a pet. Okay, and the a doesn't really mean to, T-O. Now here's something else to think about. Sometimes, or well, I'm not going to say sometimes, always. If you're referring to somebody or nobody, and that's a direct object, even though I guess you could say that's either vague or doesn't really exist in the case of nobody. You don't think of nadie, nobody, as being like, Jaime, Luis. Yeah, it's not an actual person because it's nobody. We do need to use the a personal if nadie or if alguien is a direct object. So something to keep in mind. So here's some examples of this. No veo a nadie. I don't see anybody. No veo a nadie. Even though nobody doesn't really exist, right? Nadie refers to human being in its non-existent state. So because it refers to a human being, we need the a. Quiero golpear. Golpear means smack. Quiero golpear a alguien. I want to hit somebody. That makes it kind of graphic. Alguien. And when somebody says that, because a leads into another word right away that starts with an a, it's just going to sound like a little drawn out a instead of a. It'll be a. Quiero golpear a alguien. You won't hear anybody stop between those two words because a blends into alguien. It'll be a long drawn out a. Quiero golpear a alguien. That's all you'll hear. It'll all blend together. A quien pertenece esta silla. To whom does this chair belong? Pertenece means to belong. A quien, to whom. A quien pertenece esta silla. Taxis, no vi ningunos. Well, that doesn't really have an a personal because taxis are not the taxi driver, the taxi cab, right? Taxistas, taxi drivers. No vi a ningunos. I don't see any taxi drivers. Wow, we need a taxi. We're in trouble. No había ningunos. I don't see any of them. Okay. And we use them with pets. Veo a mi perro rough. But veo tres elefantes. This defines what we mean by the animal thing. You're not likely to have an elephant as a pet. Somebody who feeds the elephants at the zoo probably will use the a personal because that person probably works with that animal all the time. But if you're just talking about, I see this wildlife, veo a muchos coyotes, I see lots of coyotes, that's wildlife, right? You're driving down the highway, you see a bunch of horses like way off there. Veo muchos caballos. I see lots of horses. That's not an a personal. If you have a horse and you're going to the stable to ride your horse, then you use the a personal. ¿Entienden? That makes sense? See? Okay. And they'll give you a bunch, and we're not going to focus on exceptions. Now we're at the bottom of that. Okay. Yeah. We're going to do a little kind of group practice to see if you know when we use an a personal and when you do not. And you're going to get this practice. Did I include this? I'm sure I did. I'll double check before I send you the Nearpod. It will be in that Nearpod segment. We're going to take a look at some situations because your verb used a whole, or your verb, your book listed a whole bunch of verbs, right? And they were verbs that typically have people as a direct object. Okay, some verbs don't have any direct objects, right? Some verbs just don't. Some verbs do. They say terminology is take a direct object, right? Okay. Perdón. Compartir. I need to share my screen. And I need to find a way to make this bigger. Yay. That's a little bigger. Can you all see those pictures? ¿Pueden ver? ¿Pueden ver las fotos? Okay, bien. We're going to use this for a little bit of practice to see maybe when we do or maybe when we don't use the a personal, ¿sí? Tenemos aquí el verbo recordar. Recordar es to remember, ¿verdad? And I've got a UE because it's that O changes to a UE. Recuerda, right? Ella recuerda. Ella recuerda. Ella recuerda, she remembers. She might remember words. That's a little poof thing. Okay. She might remember her grandpa, abuelo. If I want to say she remembers words, palabras, words, ella recuerda las palabras. She remembers the words. Ella recuerda las palabras en español, ¿verdad? Bien, okay. I don't need an a personal. Ella recuerda las palabras en español. Bien, okay. She remembers her grandpa. Uh-oh. ¿Cómo se dice? It's still ella recuerda. Oh, perdón.
Abuelo.
Ella recuerda
A su abuelo.
a su abuelo. Ella recuerda a su abuelo. Ella recuerda a su abuelo. She remembers her grandpa. Okay. Bien. We got a tree hugger. La mujer. ¿Cómo se dice? The woman hugs the tree. You got to do something with abrazar.
La mujer abraza el árbol.
Perfecto. Perfecto. La mujer abraza el árbol. She hugs a tree, not a human being. Okay. If I have the woman hugging a little kid, la mujer abraza al niño. La mujer abraza al niño if she were hugging a kid. La mujer abraza a su gato. She hugs her cat. Okay, bien. Cat would be different. Árbol, no. Okay, entender. Entender, to understand. Entender gets an IE in the middle of it. So, él entiende. He's trying to puzzle out his girlfriend. Can't figure out what her mood is. He understands su novia, his girlfriend. ¿Cómo se dice? He understands his, or maybe he doesn't understand. Él no entiende. He doesn't understand. ¿Cómo se dice he doesn't understand his girlfriend?
Él no entiende a su novia.
Él no entiende a su novia. Él no entiende a su novia. Él no entiende a su novia. He doesn't understand his girlfriend. Okay. A ver. We're going to come back to llevar, llevar. Jorge is taking Carlita. Jorge is taking Carlita in his car. ¿Cómo se dice Jorge is taking Carlita? Jorge y Carlita.
Jorge lleva a whatever, Carlita, what's her name?
A Carlita, sí.
Carlita.
Jorge lleva a Carlita. Jorge lleva a Carlita. And you're going to notice lleva ends in an A, and the A is going to, the A from lleva is going to blend right into the A that stands alone. It's just going to be a little drawn out. Not Jorge lleva a Carlita. Jorge lleva a Carlita. It is so subtle, but you will hear it. Jorge lleva a Carlita. Okay, but they won't pause between the words. Bien. Okay. We got a guy delivering a pizza. ¿Cómo se dice? He's carrying the pizza.
Llevar la pizza.
El chico
Lleva la pizza.
la pizza. Okay, so you get the idea. We don't need an a personal, not a pet. You know, it's a thing. Okay. A ver. Oye, vamos a ver. Let's take a look. You know, and I don't think I have this on the Nearpod, so I think I'm going to change the Nearpod so that I include this so that you can review it later on. This is a little quiz. It's going to be a drop down thing. Okay, drop down menu. Let's see if we can figure out what makes sense. We got to choose correct answer. Will we say veo Carolina, veo a Carolina?
Veo a Carolina.
Veo a Carolina. Okay.
La casa.
Veo
La casa.
la casa de Carolina. Now you're not saying I see Carolina. I see Carolina's house. And what really is receiving the action of seeing is the house. Not Carolina, because she may be in it. She may not be in it. We're not really seeing her. We're seeing the house that belongs to Carolina. Okay. Veo la casa. Ooh, I should have clicked my things here. Okay. Busco. I'm looking for. Busco.
A Pablo.
A Pablo. Busco a Pablo. And there you hear the because, right? Busco ends in O. Pablo doesn't start in an so you clearly hear the busco a Pablo. Busco
La silla.
Vacía.
La silla de Pablo. Bien. Ok. Llevo
A mis
Mis
tres
tres
Place.
hermanas.
a mis tres hermanas. I'm taking my three sisters someplace, right? Okay, bien. Llevo
la comida.
Comida.
la comida. Bien, bien, bien. Escucho
A
Los
Estudiantes.
estudiantes.
a los estudiantes. Escucho
Las cintas.
las cintas. Cintas are tapes. Ooh, this is very 80s. Escucho las cintas. Tapes. Yeah, wow. Ooh, 8 tracks, tapes. Well, if it's like vinyl, maybe it'll make a comeback. Okay. Visito.
A mi novio.
A mi novio.
A mi novio. Visito
la
La
ciudad.
ciudad.
La ciudad.
la ciudad de mi novio, my boyfriend's city. Well, he's from some city, right? Bien. Vale. Oh, ¿cuántos hermanos tiene? How many brothers and sisters you have? Tengo
Tengo dos hermanos.
2 hermanos. Muy bien. Eres muy listo. You are smart. Okay, bien. Because it's tener, we do not use it with tener. Okay. ¿Llama usted a María o
A Elena.
a Elena? We still need it there with both their names. ¿Llama usted a María o a Elena? Llamo
A
Ama.
a María, ¿ok? Tu amigo lleva
A mi
Mi
hermana.
hermana.
a mi hermana a la fiesta. No, lleva
A tu
A tu hermano.
a tu hermano. Bien. ¿Tienes
Muchos hermanos.
muchos hermanos? Sí, tengo
muchos hermanos.
muchos hermanos. Leo
La revista.
la revista. La revista es magazine. Bien, ok. Visitamos
A nuestra
A
abuela.
nuestra abuela.
a nuestra abuela. Vemos
A los niños.
Los niños.
a los niños. Bien. Ok. Fantástico. Ok. ¿Hay preguntas? Any questions yet at this point? ¿Sí o no? No? Ok. Vale. What you are going to see when you get this whole Nearpod thing. Oh, there is going to be a little fill in the blanks, and you can't see it now. There will be a little fill in the blanks section in that whole package I send you. And the fill in the blanks will ask you whether you put in a little word or if you don't. And where you don't, it'll have an X, an X. Because it's fill in the blank, I have to have an X. So it'll ask you to flip a little X if there's no or to put an in if there's an personal. Bien, ¿vale? Ok. Fantástico. Y no hay preguntas, ¿verdad? No questions yet? Bien. Okay. We're going to take a look at some other verbs. Actually, one. Vamos a practicar un poquito. We're going to practice a little bit. Woo! I got to make sure I get my light right. Conocer. We're going to take a couple of these verbs that were used in the book. I am not giving you the exercises yet from this book because it's kind of more complicated than it needs to be. More complicated than I would be comfortable giving you. And the drills for this should be easier. So we're going to practice with a couple of these verbs. And next week, you guys will practice asking some questions or completing some sentences using all these verbs from the book. But we're going to start with just a few of these today. Okay. Conocer Vale la pena pasar unos minutos repasando conocer. It is worth our effort to spend a couple of minutes reviewing this verb, because this is one of the most important verbs that you'll use with the a personal or not. Okay. I'm going to bring up a share box, conocer, because conocer es importante, to know a person, right? Or to know your way around a place. So we're going to go to the big whiteboard here. I'm going to hope it will, yay. Sometimes I am not very swift with using this whiteboard. I'm still getting used to it, but yay, I got it to work the first time. We're going to look at conocer. Conocer, to know people, person, to know your way around a place, to know a place because you've been there. Right? It can also be used actually when you talk about you're really familiar with a certain topic. Like let's say you're an expert on antique cars. You know, okay. You know, I know 56 Chevys, if that's the kind of car you work on. Yeah, you might use conocer with that, but that's kind of an, you know, more unusual use of it. Okay. Conocer es un poquito difícil. Conocer es un verbo regular, pero la forma para yo no es regular. Y a la forma para yo es con Z, it's got a Z, conozco. So we're going to review that first before we use this a little bit. Conozco. Now there's a reason for this. If I did the usual thing of taking off the ER from conocer and I put this O for a yo form, C and O together don't sound like conozco. It would sound like conoco. And conoco with a co at the end doesn't sound like it comes from conocer. Conocer has an S-E-R sound at the end. So to preserve that, we have to spell it with a Z and then we bring the C back. Conozco, okay? So conozco. Conozco, conocemos. So the rest of the time it's, conocemos. Rest of the time it will be regular. Es regular. Conoces. Conocéis. Uy, perdón. I need to go back to my Spanish keyboard. Conocéis. Conoce y conocen. Ok, bien, vale. Conozco, conoces, conoce, conocemos, conocéis, conocen. Vale, bueno, muy fácil, ¿verdad? Ok, entonces, I know your neighbor. ¿Cómo se dice? I know your neighbor. ¿Quién sabe? Should I leave our... Oh, no, perdón, Jeffrey.
Conozco tu vecino.
Okay, and we'll need our in there.
Tu vecino.
Okay. And you see why we need to do that. And you know, this is a thing that is going to be hard for you to remember to do, because when I'm moving, and I'm going to put my share screen back up here so that you can see that, because I can see that some of you were writing and I kind of got too hasty. Okay, so your first reaction, conozco tu vecino, but I can't just say conozco tu vecino, right? It's got to be conozco a tu vecino. Conozco a tu vecino. Now, you may ask, will somebody understand me if I forget that little word a? They will understand you, but it will sound a little funny to them. Okay? So yes, they will understand you, but the communication will go smoother if you remember the a. Okay? Conozco a tu vecino. ¿Cómo se dice I know his kids.
Conozco a sus hijos.
A sus hijos. Conozco a sus hijos. I know his kids. Conozco a sus hijos. ¿Cómo se dice? You've gone to a party and you say, or you're walking into a room, you're going into a meeting, una reunión, a meeting. En esta reunión, in this meeting, and you're horrified and you're paralyzed because you say, I don't know anybody in this meeting. I don't know anybody.
No conozco a nadie.
No conozco
A
a
nadie.
nadie en esta reunión. No conozco, ay, Dios mío, oh my God, ay, Dios mío, no conozco a nadie en esta reunión. I don't know anybody. Somebody asks you, ¿ves a Jorge? Sí, George? And you want to answer. You want to answer, I see George, I don't see George, I don't see anybody. What might you answer?
No veo a Jorge.
No veo a Jorge. Maybe you want to say, I don't know anybody. No veo a nadie. No veo a nadie. And we need the a nadie. I want to show you that. Because if you want to say, I don't see anybody, even the nobody gets an I in front of it. Somebody asks you, uy, perdón. ¿A quién esperas? Who are you waiting for? ¿A quién esperas? Who are you waiting for? How might you answer that?
Espero a mi amiga.
You might shorten it to just a mi amiga. You might shorten it and not even use a verb. We do that in English all the time. Who are you waiting for? My friend. Yeah, but a mi amiga. A mi amiga, or if we use it with the verb, right? Espero a mi amiga. Okay. And esperar can mean to expect, to hope for something, or to wait for. And those ideas are kind of connected because if you're waiting for somebody, you expect, if you're waiting for them, you expect they're going to show up, right? So that idea, that connection of expecting versus waiting for, you can see that kind of in an existential way, there are connected ideas. Espero a mi amiga. Okay, espero a mi amiga. ¿Cómo se dice I'm not waiting for anybody? No?
No espero a nadie.
No espero a nadie. No espero a nadie. Bien? Are we going well with this? Yeah, okay. So certain verbs will take the a personal. I want to show you something that will not use the a personal, and I will show you why. And this gets into grammar-ese, like legal-ese a little bit, but this is something that people in the past have gotten kind of wrapped up in. Okay, let's say you want to talk about we're eating dinner with somebody. Cenamos, cenamos. We want to say we're eating with the whole family. Okay. We're eating with somebody has no direct object. So I cannot use the up. I cannot say this. Cenamos a toda la familia. That would mean we're eating the whole family, which would really sound weird. So don't think we're eating with the family can use the a personal because familia is not a direct object. And you may say, well, I'm eating with my family, but the key is with. So what you really mean is this. Cenamos con toda la familia. And this word con right here, con, says with. And with is a preposition. So we can't say family receives the action of eating because, you know, or having dinner, right? Cenamos here meaning eating dinner, eating that at that time of day that is dinner time. Cenamos, we're eating dinner. We're not eating the family for dinner. We're eating with the family. And con toda la familia, familia serves as part of the prepositional phrase. Okay, so there we have really no direct object. Even though in your mind you may be connecting, well, they receive the action of they're all together there, but no, if we're saying with, that little tiny word con, with, changes the whole dynamic. It means now I've got con toda la familia as a prepositional phrase, and I cannot use the a personal. ¿Entienden? Do you understand that? Okay. Because that would get into all kinds of cannibalism, very strange and uncomfortable interpretations. Okay. Yeah. Fantástico. ¿Tienen preguntas? Do you have questions? Oh, no. No. Okay. I will ask you one quick question before we sign off for the day. I am going to use a bunch of the verbs that were in these pages for your practice to go into breakout rooms and do a nice long breakout room with. I'll probably mix it up between questions and like finish the sentence kind of things. Finish the sentence being maybe a little bit easier than answering questions, so we'll do it in that order. But I want you to get used to those verbs. So go back through and review what those verbs mean. Most of them are regular, you know, there are a couple like conocer, which gets conozco, and ver, which gets veo, a couple irregular yos. Some are stem changing, like encontrar. So, you know, there are a few of those kind of small little curveballs, but that's okay because that reviews the verbs. But the vast majority of them, like abrazar, like ayudar, help, like cuidar, take care of, like escuchar, to listen for, esperar, to wait for. The vast majority of them, invitar, to invite. The vast majority of them are regular verbs, vast majority. So you have very, very few, you know, odd irregulars in there. But it would be good for you to use those in the back and forth breakout room session next week so that you get familiar with what they mean in the context of a whole sentence using an a personal, or maybe not using an a personal. We'll mix it up a little bit. So my question for you is, do you want those practice questions ahead of time, or are you good with seeing them just on practice day? Cold.
I vote for ahead of time.
Okay. Okay, ahead of time. Okay.
Yes.
I will put that in a separate link then in the email that will go out with the video link. And I will do that separately because I'm not sure you can print from the Nearpod. I think you cannot. So I will put it out in a separate link from the Nearpod. Bien, ¿está bien? Okay. Son las 11. It's 11. So we're going to end our session for now. And I think that gives you enough to work on. Do you want a little reading segment as well, or is a little reading? Okay, I'll give you a little reading segment. I'm going to find I've got a short one, but I'm not sure if it's easy enough. I'll review it and see. I've got one in the can, but I just want to make sure it's at a good level for you. I'll give you a little reading thing. And if you feel like you don't have time for that, leave that off. The more important thing is to get to know these verbs. We'll practice these. We're going to use this lesson next week with the a personal to seg into the idea of other direct objects and how we shorten them into shorter words, which is what we do in conversation all the time, because these are words you're going to hear people use all the time. And if you have gone into Duolingo, you know, to like do some independent units, you have probably already seen these little words. I'm going to just preview that the little words are lo, la, los, las, metenos. Okay. Sometimes we use those to stand in for that direct object. So we're going to use this a personal as a bridge to get into what we do with these little words to indicate, to talk about direct objects that are people or things. La semana que viene, next week. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Ok, fantástico. Entonces nos vemos. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week. And if you want to stay on a bit for chit chat, you can do that. Otherwise, we will say hasta luego. Okay.